Hi, welcome back to another session of Read, Look, Learn. Today I have pulled a whole bunch of books that are going to teach us how to do stuff, although maybe not in the normal way. For example, one of my favorite books is How To by Randall Munroe, which tells you how to do normal things, but probably not the way you want to do them. For example, we've got a whole chapter on how to dig a hole. If you ever want to figure out how long it would take you to dig a hole using a vacuum cleaner, this is the book for you. A lot of really interesting, humorous, and fun examples of how to do things in this book. Another book by him I love, The Thing Explainer. This one takes really complicated ideas like going to space, how a spaceship works, how a rocket works, how a oil rig in the ocean works, but it gives all the explanations using just the 100 most commonly used words, which makes it really fun sometimes. Other books, The New Everyday Science Explained. Great pictures, great ideas, tells you how things work. How about electricity and magnetism, sounds and music, or just basically how things work. And my favorite How Things Work book right now is called How Things Work. The Inner Life of Everyday Machines by Theodore Gray. And it's really fun because he found all these things, shows you how they work, but all of the objects are clear so you can see all the mechanisms inside, whether that's clocks or phones, sewing machines, weights, and you really get a good in-depth look with pictures that help you understand things. So I really love to see how things work. And I thought maybe we could go out somewhere in our neighborhood and find some interesting machines that we could get a closer look at. You ready? Let's go. Okay, so now I'm here at Fat Cats with Brian Stan, who I think of as the bowling guy. What's your official title?
Bowling mechanic.
Bowling mechanic. It sounds much more official. And you might catch on to a few things here. So just in the interest of full disclosure, this is my brother. Okay, Brian, we've been looking at some books that show how things work, which are really fascinating. And I know there are a lot of machines that keep the bowling alley working. So what kind of machines do you have here that make things go?
Well, we've got back there the pin setter,
Okay.
and the ball lift, and then we have the ball return.
Okay.
4 motors run the whole thing.
Just 4 motors?
4 motors.
4 motors for each one, or 4
4
motors
motors total.
for the whole bowling alley?
Well, for each lane.
So 4 motors per lane to make the bowling alley go.
Yeah.
Okay. So I kind of just think of the bowling machines as magic. You know, I bowl, the ball disappears, and then it magically appears here. Isn't that the way it works?
That's the way we like people to think.
Okay, what really happens?
Okay. Well, let's look at this here.
Okay.
So,
Do we
you
need to get
might
closer?
want to have the camera come over here. And the lighting's not the best, but if you can see down there, I should have brought a flashlight. There's a track that the ball rides on, and so down there, in between the 2 lanes, you'll see the same track. So the ball has a roller coaster ride underneath the floor. It comes over here, and it goes in there and then out. Now, the real purpose of the ball lift is to slow down the ball so it doesn't come shooting through here and hurt people, because it does come pretty fast. And I think I might turn on a lane and then run a ball.
Okay, that sounds good. Nice.
And that's the ball return.
Okay, so I watched the ball,
Mhm.
and it looked like it went down, but then it went up into some machines before it got on the roller coaster. Is that
Yeah.
right?
So you want to
Okay.
go back there?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. We're going to switch to that end because the lighting's better, and I'll go turn on that machine.
Okay.
It's interesting to note that this is a ball sensor and a camera. The ball sensor shines a visible beam across here, so when the ball comes through, the machine knows the ball has come, and then it knows it's time to sweep the pins. And then the camera takes a picture of the pins, so it knows how many has fallen over, and then automatically scores it for you.
I tagged. Who would have done?
Yeah. So, if you're coming back here, you don't want to accidentally trigger it. Now it thinks the first ball's gone through. And so picking up the pins, sweeping, and putting them back down. So let's go on back here. Okay, so I'm going to go press the cycle button so you can see it do what happens on the second. Well, let's do first ball and then let's do second ball. So let's pretend first ball has come through. Wait a minute, we gotta reset this. So for a cycle, here comes the first ball. When the table comes down, the scissors grip the other pins, sweep the dead wood, and set it back down. And now I'll get a second ball. Here comes the second ball. See if we can get a spare. Drops down some new set of pins. And there we go.
Do we need to see how the pins go? Did you see how the pins went in?
Let's-
But I didn't see where the ball went.
Okay, let's do that. I'll go get, well, we got one more ball. I'm going to take off the hood and so you can see that better.
Where should we be?
Right up there.
Come over here so you can see where the ball goes. Okay.
Now you'll probably see that paddle going back and forth. What the purpose of the paddle is to push pins out of the way so the balls can get through. So it's in there, it pushes it out. Now that last ball was a light children's ball. So the machine has a hard time telling if it's a pin or not, so I kept pushing it out. A heavier ball would just go right in there and then up the lift. So,
So we've got machines that grab the ball and spit it back out.
yeah.
We've got machines that grab the pins and put them up and down.
Yeah.
We've got machines that sweep the balls into the big circle where they go into the pin setter.
Yeah.
Is that 4 machines? What have we missed?
Well, there's this over here. And it's kind of dark to see, but this is the this is what's called the light ball sensor, and so it knows where to get the paddle out of the way to let the balls through, and then everything else just kind of runs the stuff.
Okay, so I've got to ask some really basic, maybe bonehead questions here. We've got a lot of machines making bowling possible here.
Yeah.
You got the pin setters, and you got the scissors, and you got the bowling return. And how long have these things been around?
They've been around since early 50s for people to use. They were invented shortly after World War II.
Okay.
And so the company developed them, and they wanted to take it to the National Bowling Exposition thing and show it off. They wouldn't let them even in the door with it. It was an abomination.
Why?
Because it's just not how bowling's done with machines.
So how did they just like set all the pins up by hand one at a time before?
Yep, they had a bunch of boys, pin setters, pin boys that would sit on a plank across here. You'd bowl, boy would hop down, set up the pins, and then you'd bowl again, and hopefully the kid would get out of the way before the ball hit.
Okay. That sounds really labor intensive.
Our Uncle Bob was a pin boy.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
He was a pin boy.
Okay. In Park City?
Yep.
Okay. Who knew? I'm learning stuff about family history and bowling history at the same time. So there would be, would there be like one boy per lane, or?
I don't know that much about it. I think he could maybe handle two lanes. It was a much slower game at that point.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
And so anyway, they set up shop across the street to show the machine.
Okay.
And the bowlers loved it because it was a faster game.
Oh yeah.
And you don't have to tip the pin boy.
Faster and cheaper.
Yeah.
But the pin boy is not so happy.
Pin boys were not happy about it. The owners of the bowling alleys were not happy at all. And it was about 5 years till they sold any. I don't know if that's because they were still in further development or nobody was buying it, but once people did make the investment to buy it, it really caught on like wildfire.
No turning back.
No turning back, yeah.
Okay. Now, also, I don't know a lot about bowling, but I understand that historically, things were not as standardized. Would that be a fair assumption?
Yeah, very good assumption. Bowling came from England, which they think came from the Dutch.
Okay.
Over, and then it has weird history in other places. In England, each little area, each county, town would have their own style of pins, their own length of lanes, their own rules. It was always 9 pins.
And we use 10,
yes.
right?
And there's an interesting history about that.
Okay.
But everything was not standardized. It's still not standardized. And it's just in England. Although they do have 10-pin, American 10-pin all over the world now.
Okay.
But
so are there machines that set up 9 pins?
No, because in 9-pin you have your king pin, which is a different color or a different size, and it's supposed to go in the middle. It's shaped in a diamond shape, or in some places they have it in the front. And so with the machine, the pins are in the. How do you make sure
which color it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So once the machines came in, because across the United States, it was about half and half, 9-pin, 10-pin.
Okay.
But once the machines came in, 9-pin kind of dwindled out, except for in Texas. There's a handful of towns in Texas where they have Texas 9-pin.
So do they still have to set them up by hand?
They set them up by
They
hand.
still have pin
They
boys.
have pin boys, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. So, one last question,
Uh-huh.
which is, again, kind of a broad question. You've got all these machines, 4 machines per lane making this thing go. What do you have to do to keep them going? What kind of regular things do you have to do, and where's the weak spot that usually makes things stop?
Oh, it can stop anywhere.
Okay.
It can stop anywhere. A lot of the thing is, you might want to come around here with the camera. These are called the scissors. They grip the pin to pick it up after the first ball. And they get out of adjustment quite easily. And so you have to crawl in there. It's a nice job because you get to lay down. And you take this, we call this the brick. It measures things for different parts of the machine. And you stick it in there and see, it doesn't grip it. So that one needs tightened up. And so you'd come in here and there's a teeny tiny bolt right there. And you give that a little turn. And then you have to do that and check it again, see if it's tightening up like it should. And that's good. You don't want it too tight. If it's too tight, they won't close and it drops all the pins.
And that means I accidentally hit more balls and got more points?
No,
Oh, shoot.
no. So that's a lot of the general maintenance.
Just making fine adjustments continually.
So do you want to know why we have 10-pin bowling?
Instead of 9-pin bowling? Yeah.
Okay. It started in Connecticut
Okay.
in the late 1700s. Bowling had become a real problem. Because,
Bowling crisis?
yeah, a bowling crisis.
Okay.
Statewide crisis of bowling. See,
Okay.
bowling was a pub sport.
Yeah.
And the workers would have their lunch break and go to the pubs to have their sandwich and a pint. And they'd get going on a game of bowling. Bowling game doesn't always end when you're supposed to get back to work.
Especially with pin boys having to do it by hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, you know, they'd have a few extra pints before they got back to work. So they would come back to work late and drunk and having gambled their money away on bowling.
Bowling gambling.
Bet you I can get a strike and you can't.
Oh, yeah.
And the shop owners talked to the state legislature and said, you gotta do something about this bowling problem. So they did. They outlawed bowling in the state of Connecticut. And, you know, in laws, you have to spell out everything correctly. The official name of the game is bowling at 9 pins. It was illegal to bowl at 9 pins.
So let's add a pin.
Stick another one in there, and then that's legal. And that's how we got American 10-pin.
Okay. All kinds of questions answered here.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, thanks, Brian.
You're welcome.
It was very interesting. I loved your machines. I loved learning a little more about bowling as well. And maybe it's time to go break for lunch.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.